So Martin, we have just had a fascinating more than 1 hour speech from President Trump. What did you make of it?
It stressed all the points that we were expecting. America's very much open for business. I don't think I've seen this level of optimism in America since about 1985 and the second Reagan administration. And business looks for low tax and low reg, and they got that in spades in the speech. So obviously the economy on song, a lot of optimism. Government efficiency improved to try and bring the deficit down. Even some suggestion that 20% of the savings might go to US citizens as well, and 20% to reduce debt. So that a strong military and peace through strength. So some very powerful messages there, but we also got the rally as well. There was a lot of material around the issues that really concern him, but overall an extremely positive speech. And when we look at it from Europe, very positive in terms of economically. Politically, nothing on the US and China, although I think we expect there to be more bifurcation there. Obviously, quite a bit on Russia and Ukraine, and I think Europe worries about that. So all in all, whether you think about it economically, whether you think about it politically, militarily, and from a point of view of growth, all good positive messages, well received by the audience, I would say.
Peter, as a member of the FII Institute family,
yes,
how important was this moment for the FII Institute?
I think it was a very proud moment. It was great to see Richard Atias there, welcoming him and introducing President Trump. You know, my feeling was I walked away with a innate feeling of being proud to be an American. That's the feeling I left with, and like this incredible rising tide of, you know, this is not just the 2020s, it's the roaring 20s come back. A real conversation on energy in terms of the shackles are off on energy. No, listen, I'm all for small nuclear reactors, SMRs, and fusion, and solar, and wind. But at the end of the day, we are going to need to be an AI-first nation. And as the president said, we need to double, probably triple, our 4,000 terawatt hours of production. You know, China's done that already, and I agreed. I expected to hear a lot more about China. Didn't hear that. The other thing that I found was he was funny. He was really
laughs at himself too.
He was really uplifting, and so I thought it was incredible. You know, he served up for crypto and Bitcoin, served up for AI. You know,
well, AI. He said. He actually said, hope we're not overblowing it, being over optimistic about it.
I hope my faith is in Elon, who's going to be there to make sure that he got it.
Crypto he was very positive about.
Yeah,
but in terms of,
and Michael Saylor in the audience there.
Yeah. But you know, the interesting thing is talked about optimism. You know, and it's interesting that the Labour government, which is struggling with pessimism in the UK and Europe, you know, there's been calls for the Prime Minister Starmer and the Chancellor Rachel Reeves to be a bit more optimistic, like the Americans and like President Trump and other members of the cabinet, to inject a note of optimism into the discourse rather than pessimism.
So Martin, Peter just said he felt proud as being an American.
Yes.
After hearing what President Trump had to say about Europe, did you feel proud being European?
The 5 big economies in Europe, if the world is going to grow at about 3%, which is probably a little bit less than it did before, if inflation is going to be a little bit more stubborn than before and interest rates a bit higher as a result, Europe is going to grow at less than, you know, UK was congratulating itself last week for having grown 0.1% in Q4 of last year. I was in the car listening to it on the radio and I collapsed into fits of hysterical laughter that we will be proud about the fact we've just managed to inch out of recession.
You know, I can get you a green card if you want to come on over.
Well, you know, interesting thing, because you know, a lot of people are exiting the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of with the non-dom thing. But the basic point, Anna, is the world is going to grow at different rates. And the US and South America, the Middle East and Asia, with a qualifier on China. If you're big in China, given the Taiwan risk, do you want to really be bigger? So India and Indonesia and Thailand and Vietnam and Philippines, Malaysia and Singapore come into their own. The big problem spots are Africa, which is very volatile. More conflicts there than we've ever had. before, I think, and then the second area is Europe. And coming back to what Peter said about AI will be of critical importance in Europe in taking down cost and improving efficiency. It will improve efficiency and cost everywhere, but in a European context where growth is very hard to come by, and I think will continue to be because of the political situation, the war, etc. I think AI is going to be even more important in terms of...
I'll add one last thing, which was the president made a very clear statement about if you come and invest in America, if you build in America, if you hire in America, I'm going to lay out the red carpet, I'm going to reduce taxes, and there's a real sense that we're about to have a extraordinary revival of manufacturing and of employment across the board. Now the challenge is, I don't think President Trump truly has an understanding of what's about to hit America and the world
from an AI,
from an agentic AI side and from a humanoid robot side. And these are not, it's his administration that's going to see this in the next 4 years. And then, so the question becomes, how do we deal with that?
Well, I think the other thing as well is that all presidents do well until the midterm, and then there's always, certainly historically, there's been a little bit of a pullback. I think obviously the number of executive orders and moves measures that we're getting, there's a torrent, and they're flooding the zone.
It's 3 weeks. It's incredibly quick.
But they are flooding the zone, as Steve Bannon would have you say. And I think the big question is whether tariffs are inflationary, and whether the improvement in government efficiency, the reduction in the deficit, is sufficient to offset. You remember he made the comment about Biden and spending, and how much spending and inflation from the time that he was president for the first time. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see. Forecast for the S&P 500 EPS, Goldman's forecast for this year are about 11% up, and 8% next year. So we're looking at a very strong advertising. By the way, the other thing that we forgot to say was this massive drug campaign, anti-drug campaign.
For digital advertising.
Well, he didn't say digital, Peter, but I hope it is, because that's where we're focused. But 100 million plus 100 million, so 200 million is going to be spent. And this was Claudia Scheinbaum who gave him the idea in a conversation.
Amazing.
Interesting he said that, because he obviously listens and learns.
I will add one last thing, which is I would never bet against Elon, and I have every confidence he's going to hit his mark and bring down inflationary rates and give us a skyrocketing economy.
Well, I really hope you're right, because I think that's the big question mark that people from the outside, is whether it can be maintained beyond. I think it's locked in a way for 25 and 26 in terms of earnings, but of course the stock market looks further ahead. And his major KPI, the president's major KPI, is the S&P.
It's business.
Yeah,
it's all business.
Question to both of you. You're both investors. What was the most important figure the president mentioned tonight? Because he mentioned quite a lot of figures.
Tax rates and Bitcoin.
Elaborate, please.
I'm all in on Bitcoin. I think it's one of the most important investments people can make that's anti-inflationary and is going to be riding on top of our tech future.
I have to say I don't understand Bitcoin.
Well, it's okay.
I'm in the Buffett, I'm in the Buffett camp.
You will.
I'm an old man like Buffett.
Spend a half an hour with Michael Saylor, who's in the room, and you'll understand Bitcoin.
So Martin, as a communication expert, what would you say?
He gets A+.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Hey, Mark, good to see you, buddy.